This happens a lot with young dentists. They buy a practice, and the nature of dental sales, from what I've seen, the staff don't know the business is being sold, right? They kind of keep it a secret so that the staff don't jump ship. So a dentist will look at the financials of a practice. It all looks great. Okay. They buy the business, and then they show up one day and says, I'm the new owner. And they end up kind of inheriting the staff, right? Because there isn't really a mechanism where they get to meet everybody that's running the business. They just typically look at financial numbers and it looks good on paper, but they don't really know what are the people like that are running this business day to day. So they come in and they have huge ambitions. I'm going to renovate everything. We're going to do things differently. We're going to start offering services we never did before, or that the old dentist never did. And they have so much enthusiasm. And then they kind of just hit a brick wall where sometimes the staff is like, they're not receptive to that. They don't want to change. And, dentists, let's be honest, they're not necessarily the most people out there, right? They're very logical, they're very calculated. And I see a lot of them struggle to kind of get the staff to change direction. How do you deal with this issue? I've never really, this is not my area of expertise, but I see this problem all the time with new practice owners.
We have had to deal with that in the past.
Yeah.
So when it comes to firing, I'm not a big fan of just walking in and be like, that's it, 86 them. But there's really an interesting way to handle that transition, because you've got to get Dr. Jones isn't here anymore. And, Dr. Smith, we're two different places, two different people. Now these are two different practices.
I mean, honestly, just like you said, new doctors bought into the practice. They're excited, they're excited, they're ready to go. And then you've got a staff who's dug their heels in,
Yes.
We're blindsided. We're not excited. We're scared. We're worried. We don't know you. We don't know if you're a good dentist. So I came from a retail background. I was a general manager for a department store. So 85 employees at one time. You were running your own HR, your own payroll, all of those things. So it is a little bit, I think, based on past precedents, but what we used to do in a retail environment is we would walk in and we would explain that a new manager has taken over and everyone is fired. Everyone, you're fired. And now we're going to conduct interviews to rehire you, because the fact of the matter is Dr. Jones no longer practices. He doesn't pay you anymore. Essentially, he fired you. He sold the practice to Dr. Smith, and Dr. Smith is now your dentist. And you can choose to work here or you can choose not to. We hope everybody stays. We want you to stay. We want to value what you bring to the table. And we know we didn't buy a broken practice. But we don't know how you'll want to work with us or if you'll want to work with us. So now we're going to sit down and we're going to talk to you one-on-one. And at the end of that conversation, if you decide you want to work somewhere else, it's better to do it today than it is to do it in a month when we think everything's good and the transition is smooth and then we're blindsided. So if we do that from the beginning, the loyalty with the employees is now to Dr. Smith. He's the new owner. He hired me. Dr. Jones abandoned me. Dr. Smith hired me.
Right.
It is kind of a harsh take, but we've seen it be very successful. And
I like that approach. That's the most unique approach I've heard with this. And I definitely agree with it, because I have had clients who have had to step in and put their foot down and say, look, we plan on building a world-class practice. And we're spending a lot of time and effort to do that. And if you're not on the same page as us, start looking for another job, because This is not going to be like the practice you were with 5 years ago. And, after having that conversation, it can come off as a little harsh, but we would see almost overnight improvement.